All right, Devil Sam here with you on Tuesday, November 20th here. And as it's a Tuesday, we're looking at traditional assets today. So first up, by request, and look at the dollar yen. Now, so we've looked at this, it's not too long ago here. So I'm on a daily chart here. Nice, clean. This is a three-year from the, is it more than that? Right? 2011 low to 15.5, so a three-year swing. So clear, I saw a nice 1, 2, a little triangle in the 4. We finished with all the subdivision, just absolutely gorgeous, impulsive structure, right? This is why I always try and encourage you, if you're considering trading FX, it's very tempting to get caught into that 60-minute stuff, but the money is made on the daily 4-hour. You know, I rarely will trade anything under the 4-hour. That's the kind of movement that you're looking for. So you look there and you go, all right, okay, well, so I wasn't in that one. Well, what's happening now? Well, again, just the basics of Elliott Wave and pretty much what I would teach you. If we just go from our low, so we've got a completed 5-wave structure, right? So we've done this at least 1,000,000 times, right? So we go up, swing high, swing low. What are we looking for? We're looking for the 50, right? It's not uncommon that you would come back to the prior 3, 4. So we got all this congestion here. You can see this was this was resistance, then became support. It's support again. So nice clean move. So it's not to the tick on the 50, pretty close. Right, so reasonable to think, oh, okay, well, it's a 1 or something has completed. I know the next entry here is going to be at the 50 with targets up here, right? 137. So how do we get there? Can we get there based on the price action that we have? So if that's an upside target here, well, right, we'll see if we can put the roadmap together to where that might make sense. Well, so you have to allow for this. I did note this. You have to allow for this A, B, C. Now it's a hell of a C, but it's technical. So from the pivot up here, if I take if that's my A, get it right on there, and that's my B. I got this just right here. We don't quite make the 2618. I'm right on that. We're in between. It's not bad. That's a real extension here. So you'd have to go A, B. Yeah, it's a little. There is no retrace. So I mean, I did consider the possibility that we had A, B, and a truncated C, sort of a triangle here, but it doesn't fit as well because of this clean impulsive structure here. So the fact that we come here. I mean, I suppose you could still make the case that we're in the midst of a correction, that this could be the A wave here. This could just be the A, the B, and the C is going in of some sort of a flat before we go lower. That's not unreasonable here, but so here now as we break into the hard right edge, there's a case to be made for that thinking based on where we are. So if I go from the daily to the 4-hour here, so if I just, let me scrunch up a little bit. If you were not thinking Elliott Wave, if you were just looking at the range of the market, okay, shit, can I do it in a 4? Maybe not. Here, hang on a sec. Let me get to I guess we can do it in an 8-hour. All right, so we can see up here all of this. I mean, this is hard to miss, right? So all of this resistance up here, right? So how many times? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, 6 times rejected. So clearly the market's paying attention to that level, right? Whoever is behind that, whether that's hedge funds, banks, we never know. But somebody goes, oh, well, great spot to be a seller. So can we get through that? Well, sure, we can get through it. If this count is going to be realized, but it's not without multiple attempts at it here. So certainly this would not be a place to be a buyer. How about if we just simplify it and say it that way? So if this certainly does appear as though you've got some sort of an ABC. You know, there's complexity here, of course, but in that larger count, if we pull here from the A to the B, length of the A, and I've shown this before, so if we pull this one off, right, we look here and you go, I wonder if that's technical. Most of my trading is in foreign exchange. I do a lot of day trading as well in the S&P, but the majority of my trading is in forex, right? So for that reason, it's unbelievably technical. That I don't, again, how many times have I shown that? 1,000? I've done 700 videos, probably more than that, right? Probably a couple of thousand times. It's to the tick, tick to tick, right? We're on an 8-hour chart, right? Golden zone to target reaction. How do you know it's an algo? Based on the reaction. So pretty technical, so hard to argue with that. So you have to lean into, okay, A, B, C. God, I swear to God, I think there was a median line on this too. It was one of these. I remember drawing this up when I was first looking at that. Was it original? It's not quite to the tick here. One of the, I just thought I remembered this being very, very technical here. Well, shit, the to the tick on the algo target, probably enough. So then you look, okay, well, if that's an ABC, could that be a 1-2? Well, we know the 2, anywhere from the 50 to the 786, that's our prime zone. So if we pull up here, a little sloppy here, but it's not, doesn't invalidate. So you look at that and you go, why does it go there? Why does it go there? How is it? So note here, we hold the golden zone here. We get through here and you go, well, wonder why? Why would it get through? That's right, so market answers it for you, right? So there's whoever was behind that, right? They wanted their fill down there, right? So they got to target and off they go. And then look where we are right now. Right back to that golden zone. So again, no matter if you just look at it, take everything off the chart and you can go, it seems like a pretty good place to be a seller. Just looking at that, then you start constructing some of the counts, the fib relationships, the fib swings, and then the fact that we've tested that so many times, you start to understand why. Now, again, it doesn't mean we can't get through it. In fact, if this count's going to be realized, we have to get through it and then some. But just putting it together, it's always a good idea to kind of work through this and go, okay. If that's an ABC, so that means that's a 1-2, meaning that what would this be? Well, let's go dig into it and see if we can make sense of it, because if this is 1-2, this does not appear to be our 3, but it sure looks like it could be the 1 wave of our 3rd wave. So breaking that, let's try 2 hours. I think I can get it in 2 hours. Okay, here we go. So here's our proposed 2 low, right? That was a little sloppy off of the 618, but went down, got that target, right? So we have a technical pivot based on the reaction at that algo target. So coming off of this as a proposed 2, sure does look like I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into a 1 wave. Well, you go, okay, just kind of like before. If that's 1 through 5 has completed, I'm looking for something at the 50. Well, front run on the 50, likely. That's all that's happening there. And so again, people go, why is it you like to trade FX so much? I mean, it's incredibly technical, right? So boom, boom, we're on a 2-hour chart. So then you go, oh yeah, so it's good on the algo pulls. How about the median lines? Oh, swing it up here, all right, golden zone, all right, so how, I mean, right, so it's a little sloppy down here, actually. So we break the 65 just barely, but that doesn't affect the 80% of the median lines, right? As long as this pivot holds. Now, so take note here, you would have had likely 2 shots at that, because here you would have been thinking, let's get it here, you would have been thinking this was there. Right, so the fact that we came to that 618 by a tick, right? So you're not a golden corner pocket because you have to get under the 65. So likely that would have been, so you'd been sitting here going, so understand, right? So it's always a function of this pivot holding. You'd have been sitting here going, oh wow, shit, man, hey, look right at the 618. I know I got 80% odds of getting there. Well, right, so this has to hold. So here. Boy, that's about as close as it gets, right? So we ultimately get the pivot here. It's just a touch under the 65. Why? It's hard to say, but look, you can't argue with where we go, right? It's combination. So you've got algo target, and it gets through the algo target just enough to get the median line. Right? I promise you that this is not happening randomly. That's not coincidental. That's not, throw up some charts, you're going to hit something. Right? That's just. You know, if you want to stay in the dark, feel free to. I would just encourage you not to. So then we look here. So we go, if that's 1, 2, well, that was a perfect 50. We've got this technical pivot here. We've got all of this action here. So where am I in the count? Well, if that's 1, 2, we're thinking impulse, but I can't get an impulse here. In fact, you can just look at it, and it certainly looks much more like we've got an A, B, C going in here. So it looks like we've got a diagonal. Now then, having shown all of that, right, with this off of here. Now we look here and you go, oh, wait a minute. If this is going to be a diagonal, how can it, because it sure looks like that holds it by a tick. It holds, I mean, it looks like a perfect 4. So you're thinking, wait a minute, maybe I've got this wrong and that this is the 4 going into the 5. I'm an impulse. Nope, doesn't play. And so this way you got to check these. So if we go down here to the absolute, we just zoom in on it here, you can see it breaks it just enough. That's all it needs. All right, so I like this as the 4 of a diagonal here because in a diagonal, the 4 must overlap the 1. Can be that small, can be a tick. So you lean into this count as a 1, 2, this ABC starts to fit better. We know we had a technical pivot up here. So if we're in a diagonal, and this is my AB with a short C, but if nothing else, certainly you could say that structure supported it here. The fact that we broke by a few ticks, that, well, you know, you wanted that. That's just enough to maintain this count. So now as we look here, we can go, okay, well, 2 to the 4, that's, you know, that seems like a pretty reasonable, you did it here, and do it this way here. I'm calling this a little throw over here because it lines up with the 1 better here. So then you think, okay, well, if this is my 4, and then I'm going up to finish a 5 up here, well, I've got a contender here as a 1, 2. Well, it looks deep, so if I just grab on that low, well, again, so, and this can be something that you'll see. It's a tendency where if you're getting these very slight breaks, you kind of look at it and you go, huh, have they tweaked the algo? Are they backing off a little bit? It's, you know, we're never going to know. So that's close enough to break it to where you'd have to anticipate that there'd be a sell side algo here. So for the possibility that if this may not be done, right? So there could be an ABC coming here. That would be a deeper retrace. But the fact that we hold here, now I've got a contender here as a 1, 2 to finish the 5th. But remember, I should relabel, because we'd be looking for, if we're going to finish here, if this is 1, 2, you know, if we're going to stay in a diagonal, so it wouldn't be unreasonable to think that we'd finish it with an ending diagonal. So maybe you get something like this to finish that. So wouldn't be surprising that you finish the diagonal with a diagonal. We'll see. Right? So if you're not already long, you're kind of late to the party on that. Right, and that would have been trickier. So I'm on a 2 hour. You'd have been thinking, oh, stop under the 65, and you got just far enough through it. Body didn't get it, but that could have been stop running. It's hard to know. Right, we're never gonna know. Right, but look at the reaction coming off of it. So pulling that back, then you think, okay, well, if that's 1, 2, well, at least I got to get 100%. So I know I've got an algo target here. So if we're gonna go 3, 4, and this is 1, 2. Well, I think you can certainly trade this on the long side. So even if you're a buyer in here right now, which I don't dislike here, you've got reasonable upside here. So if we go underneath that pivot on the assumption that that turn is in, well, there's 7 to 1. So let's think about if we look at our fib swings, if we can get 100% of that too, right there. Well, so to get to the upper edge of the channel, that would give you your 7 to 1. If we just get 100% of this algo target here, you're still at 5.3 to 1. I like it up here. I like the structure here. So if this is going to go, if we've got this right, is 1, 2, 3, ABC into the 4, well, we're looking, we'll stay with this as a 1, 2 until we see what's to come. But this is very tradable here with a stop under that pivot. I like that, actually. I like that just fine. We have clear invalidation points. So if it's going to go back down and challenge that pivot, then you've got to allow for the possibility that there's a deeper correction going on, right? We could come down here in some sort of a flat correction. So I wouldn't take it beyond that pivot that just poked its head, those little wicks that went below the 65. I would stay long here, maybe even a little pullback. So if you went down to maybe a 30-minute and tried to trade a little pullback into that zone between the 50 and the 618, I think you got a pretty reasonable upside here. All right, so dollar long. So then just kind of thinking, right, we know what moves the Forex markets. Dollar long against the yen implies rates increasing here. So it makes sense with just the broader macro perspective. If indeed rates are going to continue to go higher, that should be friendly to the dollar. So we'll see if this plays here. And it's a little bit late. That's not 112. That's not too far. It's not too far gone. You're less than a point away from the pivot. So that's very tradable with that upside. Anticipating that all you're doing is putting in the one wave of the larger degree. So if I pull back out here and we see how this would fit. So if that's 2, then we're looking to complete here the one wave. So let me do it this way. So if we shrink this all up, shit, can I do it? So we're trying to get from this here, we're trying to get a one wave completed so we can go 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's much higher prices. Let's go minuet. We'll go green. So trying to finish the one wave here. If that finishes, of course, we'd be looking for anytime we finish a motive wave, we're looking for the next trade at the 50. So you've got a contender here to go this way. So if we're going to go up and finish here, we come down for the 2, up for the 3. All right, so that's the roadmap sitting out. So right now, all we're doing is trying to put in. I guess I should change that color. Well, we can go back to white. So this is our 2. We're trying to get the one wave of the third wave. So that's your on this scale. That's potentially that could be a 2-year trade. Right? It's a long term. That's why I like FX. Right? It suits my schedule right now because of what I have to do with the business. So I like to trade dailies and 4 hours. You know, I don't like to go beyond that because I can't babysit it. So if we can go 1, 2, and we get we're be looking for this to finish up here, and then this, if you want to be more conservative, that's the big move you're waiting for. Right, we've had the big impulse. We've had the 50% correction for the 2. We're putting in what appears to be a leading diagonal to give us that one wave to finish this. Right, so yeah, we're not can't call this a leading diagonal just yet until we get up here and get some new highs. We got to break this high. We've got to finish it. But if we do, then the next trade is just sitting there for that potential. For that potential 2 if we're going to finish up here. Now, I don't have the pivot up here. It'd be interesting if it was at the 1618. I don't have this pivot here, so I can't give you that trade just yet. But that's the one to be watching. So that's the advantage here. So on a 4-hour chart here, you don't have to change your count that often. Now, if this low gets taken out, well, then we might have to reconsider as to whether or not something else has happened here. Or remember that possibility here that bumping into all of this supply up here. How about we say it that way? All of this supply that we're bumping into here, maybe this is just an ABC of a larger correction that's still unfolding. So to see that, we touched on it a little bit. So if you think about where we are, how that might play, if this is 1, we certainly have the possibility here that this is just going, as I showed you here early on, that we're just doing something like this. Right, we'd be doing something along those lines. Right, certainly possible. So I'd be looking, right, if we come down here, how far can we get beyond that? Right, so far swing high to swing. Well, did I get it? Yeah, swing high to swing low. We did get through the 65. Right, so we got through here. Got up to all of this supply, and then we're having this little pullback. So if it's got the legs to get through this again, right, now we're finishing the 1. Now you have more confidence here that we've got a clean leading diagonal into that 1. It still doesn't completely eliminate the possibility that this is correction, because this could be, you still have the possibility this could be finishing here. So if this were A and we're going to go A, well, you could have A, B, C and finish with an ending diagonal, but I think that looks less likely given how technical this pivot here. So long term, there's a few scenarios here that play, but right now there's no reason to anticipate anything other than this correcting as long as we maintain the structure of this diagonal. Right now, if this starts to break down, we start to get some movement substantially below this here. We come back down here to look to challenge this 2. Well, then the count falls apart. But until then, right, there's no reason to assume that it won't complete, that we won't get this 1 wave here, and then all of this goes much, much higher. Right, all of this goes over here. This would be the 4 of the big 3. So you've got the potential here for some, a nice roadmap setting up. This requires real patience. You really have to wait for these because you're looking to get yourself positioned. The goal is try and get yourself positioned here into something that you can ride 6 months, a year. Right? If you can get one of these technical pivots, I mean, this was about as technical as it can get. Right, but so when was that? That was March of this year, March of 18. Nice trade if you got on board there. Right? A lot of things to suggest that was an area to be a buyer. Now, can you stay with this here? Well, no. If you miss this, this is coming. If this completes up here, the next 50 will be coming. Right. So again, how many times did we see it? Right. This was technical. This was technical. You gotta love FX, right? So, but it's not for everyone. It requires extreme patience and a discipline to not overtrade it. You're just trying to get positioned for some of these big pivot swings, and then the hardest part of it is not touching it. Let something like this finish, right? That's where the swing relationships can be really helpful to you because you can get that roadmap and say, well, if we're coming down here and I'm a buyer for that 2, well, I know I got a long way to go before I get to a 3. Right, even if you just took a partial at 100% on not assuming that you're going to get 1618, a lot of upside. So a lot of opportunity in that. So again, I'd like to try and give you a trade here. I think you do have something right now. Again, you're a little bit late to the party here. So even if you got a little bit of a pullback here, so if this is the start of it, so if we've gone 1, 2. And this is done. If you got a little pullback here, not bad. Not a bad place to enter it because then you can be on the other side of that pivot. If that's wrong, if that pivot gets taken out, then you don't want to be in. Right? If this is not 1, 2, if we don't go into an impulse here, then you want to be out because now whatever you thought was happening or whatever. So if I'm taking this, right? If this low is broken, then I got to rethink it. And you can see why. Right here, that doesn't look like it's done, does it? You can make a pretty strong case that that's not done, that that's just the A wave. How are we getting a completed? So there's a reasonable chance that this is just the A wave. It's possible, certainly. We might be doing something like that and put us down to the edge of the. So this could go lower. You don't have a great. Let's wrap it up here. So this looks much more like 1, 2 rather than A, B. So if you just quickly tried to get a count on this, 1, 2, it looks like that. So you've got a diagonal here. So it looks like I can go 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'd have a leading diagonal with the extension in the 5th of an A wave here. So looks much more like an A wave than a completed correction. So be careful on this one here. So how are you going to know? Well, you're going to have to pull this. So from this swing to this swing, if we're going to get a pivot here, it will tell to some degree in the structure that we get. So let me clean this all up here. So before I send you into a trade, let's think it through here. Do we have enough? Do we have enough to call this complete? Let's get this degree. So it's not dumb here. Okay. So if this is the A wave here, then the 2 is not done yet. So pulling back out here. Okay, so from this, remember we broke just barely here, just from that little pivot here. So you can get, so this looks like you may, again, we're still in this diagonal structure. So this looks much more like an ABC to give us that. Let me pull back out here again. So if this is the 3, right, we've got the ABC into the 4. So maintaining this, so if we're going to stay in the ABC format, this looks like ABC, but this does not look like it's done yet. So so here we can get a very, it looks pretty solid here for an ABC into a 1 on the assumption that we're going to stay with a diagonal. Right, so this well, it's a bit troubling here. So this looks like you're likely to get something like that. Now think about what that does for us. Could this still be the 2? Well, yep, still could be the 2. We get something like that. That wouldn't invalidate the count. Now, if we take out this pivot here, well, then it's a larger A, B, C. That's the alternate, right? So worthwhile to have that alternate. So this isn't as clear, you know, with a little bit of a closer look here. This is very possible here. So then you'd be thinking that you had a larger, that this was A, this three-wave structure here was B, and C could be going lower here to give us a more convincing overlap here. So if I pull that out here, let's go back out to the 8 hour and see if that fits. I didn't mean to go this long here. Sorry, guys. But just as I work through this here, so you've got a reasonable possibility here. So let's put it all together. So remember, in a diagonal, we're looking for a relationship between the start of the 1 and the pivot of the 3rd. Right? So here, that 50, if we're going to come down here, then this potentially, this would be over here. So this potentially could go that low. It's possible. So you'd have 1, 2, 3. Now that's very deep here, but that's not an uncommon retracement in a diagonal. Start of the 1 through the pivot of the 3, looking for the 50 at the 4. It's a contender here. So you got a couple of variables here to consider. Now that would be an extreme correction here, and this we I think be reevaluating the whole thing if we were coming down here, but that 50 would not be insignificant. So I'm kind of keying off of all of this supply that we've repeatedly has been demonstrated as where the market finds sellers. If we're going to correct this more fully, then you have to consider the possibility here that this is an ABC, and we're not done yet. Yeah, shit. So here I thought I had a nice clean trade for you, and I don't really have one here. So I wouldn't. I'd wait. Oh shit. Sorry, guys. Thought I had something nice and clean because the look at that looks like it's 5 coming down. Can we even get that into an ABC? It doesn't even play particularly well as a, because you don't. Well, maybe you can make this case here that you've got. You trade it this way. This is A, B, C. Then your 2 is in. A little bit of a judgment call and how much you want to get long in here. So let me clean up all this up so we can see it a little better. So if that's ABC, then the low is in, and we're good here on this 2. So how are we going to know? So what do we get here? Are we going to come out of this? Well, if that's ABC, let's see if that's technical. So if we go here, if that's the A, right, here's the 50, second target, even we get through even the second target. So if this is done as the 2 here, that's got to be a higher degree. Let's go minuet. If that's done as the 2 and we've got A, B, C, then we need to see something. You want something, at least you want to get a motive wave down here. So is this doesn't even, you can't even get any subdivision into that. You know, I'm on a 60-minute where I would tell you not to go below the 60-minute. Right, it's just too squirrely on these. So maybe you've got the start of an A wave going in, A, B, C, something like that. So is there a trade there? Well, if that pivot is good, if I go here, yeah, you could be looking here in between the 50 and the 618 if that's the A wave. Not my favorite trade that I've seen all day, but it's certainly there. So you could trade the B potentially into the C, anticipating that would be technical. So here, right? So minimum target would be from here to here, right? If you get some of these upper targets here, possible. So shit, didn't mean to go this long. All right, there's 28 minutes. I got to wrap, guys. I thought I had something clean for you, but I just really, now that I really look at that, I wouldn't give this a lot of room. So if you were looking to be a buyer here, I'd be tight on the stop. So I'd give it no more than if you're a buyer at the 50, I would not give it beyond the 65 because the count's a little unclear as to where we are here with this action. Yeah, I can get 5 coming down here. So I can get a 1, 2, 3, 4. Fits with the diagonal structure a little bit better, but it's not the sexiest trade I've seen all day. So use your own judgment here. I think long term you can be pretty solid about where we are in this count. That we have Let's get back out to the 8. Really did not intend for this to be such a rambling video here, but if this 3 is good here, if we've got the 3 and the 4 identified, so if this is the 4, we've got a 1, 2 that's in play. So the first little pullback, tradable, but I wouldn't give it too much room. I'd be conservative with that stop and get a little more information as to where we are if this 3 and 4 are in. So you got a little bit of a challenge here with how skinny that C wave is, right? This it's not ideal, right? I know I'm on an 8-hour, but it's not ideal. So there's a reasonable possibility here that you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that you'd have A going in, A, B, C into a B. It's deep. That retracement is deep for a B, but it's possible now that you've got this whole thing correcting this way. Oh, shit. So you might have this whole thing going in. Again, don't force a trade. So if you're still watching and didn't leave 20 minutes ago, is there a trade there? Yeah, but I'd be tight on the stop, and I wouldn't be anticipating. I wouldn't have them sending the Lambo catalogs just yet, right? So I'd be cautious in here with that. Maybe you've got a little swing trade here, but there's not enough information here, and this is a little bit too much to where it could go either way to where I'd give this a lot of room. But a little swing trade, sure. All right, 31 minutes. I did not mean to go that long. All right, guys, I apologize for getting that long, but rather work through it and give you that thought process even as I'm correcting myself as I go than just leave you hanging here with a iffy trade. All right, so with that, I got one more to do here. I'll be back and hopefully do it in less time. All right, see you.